Welcome to Hey That's Me, a commentary podcast. I'm Patrick Hotner.
I am Brian Lynch. Patrick, is this the podcast where we watch TV shows and movies with people that worked on it and they provide a running commentary for the entire length of the project that people can play back as a commentary like the olden days of DVD and Blu-ray?
No, this is the Joe Rogan experience.
Oh,
Welcome.
Who are you voting for?
Oh, boy, let's not get into it.
Wait, then it's not a Joe Rogan.
I don't even know who's running, Brian.
We don't know yet.
It's too early.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. Yes, you're right. That's what
Oh,
this
I got
is.
it right. Yay.
Today, a very exciting episode for one big reason.
I wasn't
Brian.
there.
You weren't there.
I know, sorry.
We're watching the Star Wars The Clone Wars movie.
Wow.
From 2008. And we're watching it with one of the writers, Scott Murphy.
Oh, my God.
And by we, I mean us, the listeners, not you.
No, I wasn't. If it makes you feel any better, I watched it at the same time you guys watched it, and I asked questions.
That's true.
And I got no answers.
That's true. Scott worked on the first season of the show, too, and some of the episodes he worked on are in the second season. He was the supervising writer on the show. So he was the guy who was kind of in charge of making sure everything fit together and all the stories seemed coherent, the tone was okay, and all that stuff.
Was his podcast with you coherent?
I think so.
Okay, great.
He had gone through beforehand and written a lot of notes down, so he remembered a lot, which was great. And it wasn't as off the cuff, like not
Right.
remembering things in the moment and then thinking back, being like, oh, we should have talked about that.
That's like the UHF commentary where Weird Al Yankovic is clearly reading the script to it all.
But it was great.
Dissed Weird Al Yankovic. Let's not lose what just happened.
He already did his commentary. We don't need him.
Yeah.
No, but Scott's stuff was really great because he wrote the first episode of the movie. So it's the first 25 minutes of the movie.
Amazing.
And then for the rest of it, we sort of talked about the show in general and things that he was, as we were watching it on screen, but it wasn't as scene by scene notes. I found it really interesting. It was it's a weird period of time in that world.
Yeah.
And it's something that I think doesn't get talked about a lot is this movie, even though it is technically one of the few theatrically released Star Wars movies.
Incredible. Yeah. It's the only one I have not seen in the theater.
Me too.
Oh, boy.
Me too. Very fun.
That's awesome. I can't wait to hear it. Let's count down.
Okay, here we go. You can watch it on Disney Plus. It's on Blu-ray. There's a video commentary on the Blu-ray.
Oh, wow.
Which was like a thing for a few years
Yeah.
that they were trying. Yeah. They were watching it in one of the screening rooms and they have cameras on them. It's weird.
That's
and
really
cool.
Simpsons did it for a couple at one
Yeah,
point.
there's
early on.
and your friend Tim Hill did it.
Well, he did it in a Mystery Science Theater way.
Yes.
The shadows of Tim Hill, Gonzo, Rizzo, and Kermit.
Yeah.
For Muppets from Space, which is great. Everyone should watch it. It's underappreciated.
But that is not on the Blu-ray. It's only on the DVD. Okay, let's count down. You ready?
Nope.
3, 2, 1, go. Here we go. Clone Wars movie. Here we are. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready for this. The first Star Wars movie that did not start with the 20th Century Fox logo.
Yes.
Warner
And
Brothers.
We should say this movie's 4 episodes of the television show that were combined.
Right.
And you worked on the first episode.
I wrote the first episode. I wrote material that was adapted into the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just say, Patrick, I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you
I'm
so much.
such a huge fan of audio commentaries.
Yeah.
I've never had an opportunity to do one until now. So
That's great.
Big thrill.
It's going to be fun.
Happy to be here. And also, let me just say at the top, I was a Star Wars fan since before the first movie came out. And I can explain later how that's even possible. But so getting to work on this, getting to work for George up at Skywalker Ranch with Dave and Henry and all the other amazing artists that worked on this was thrill of a lifetime.
That's
so
great.
if I say anything that might be a little critical of the movie, I just want to preface by saying
Totally get
the
it.
whole experience was utterly fantastic.
It's okay to be critical of your own work.
Yeah.
You know?
So yeah, like you were saying, this movie was actually comprised of what was originally intended to be 4 episodes.
Yeah.
I've seen some reporting saying it was 3, but it was actually 4. There was Castle of Deception, Castle of Doom, and Castle of Salvation, which were written by Henry Gilroy and Steve Melching. I don't remember who wrote which episode, but those episodes got reworked into the second and third acts of this movie. And when I got there, I was given an episode to write called The New Padawan, which was supposed to introduce Ahsoka, and it was supposed to be the pilot of the show. And then that script was sort of reworked and turned into the first act of this movie, which is what's going to start unfolding in a minute. Okay. These scenes were added later, the scenes with Mace and Emperor Palpatine. Emperor Palpatine, voiced by Ian Abercrombie.
Yeah.
Mr. Pitt.
Yes.
From Seinfeld.
Yes.
Elaine's boss from season 6. I I was kind of surprised that Samuel L. Jackson was brought back because we had already recorded some episodes of Mace, and we had a great voice actor, T.C. Carson, who voiced him. And but I guess I'd heard two things. I'd heard one that they wanted to bring Samuel L. Jackson back, and then I heard another version of it, which was like Samuel L. Jackson heard there was going to be a Star Wars movie, and it was like, no, if there's going to be, Mace is going to be in it. I don't know which version of that story is true, but
I mean, both are fun. I think.
Yeah, I like to think Sam wanted to come back. And,
totally. I assume it also helps with press a little bit to be like, we have Sam, we have Christopher Lee, we have Anthony Dan. You know, like we've got these guys.
Absolutely,
it's an easier sell a little bit.
Yeah. So Admiral Yularen here is voiced by Tom Kane, who also voices Yoda. So he's playing against himself a little bit here. I was in some recording sessions that he participated in, and he never came to California. He lives in Kansas City.
Oh, interesting.
Has a home studio with an ISDN line, and we would just dial him up on the mixing board, and the voice of Yoda would come out.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Kind of the dream.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he also was the voice of the opening narration, which Star Wars movies always had like the opening crawl. And I think that there was some controversy among the fans, like they were changing it to the voiceover. But I think that's better, especially if this is geared towards a younger audience.
Totally. Can't read.
You don't want to have them to have their older sibling or parents, I guess, have to read it for
Whisper
them.
the whole time. Yeah.
So I think that was actually probably a good move. I
was gonna say, when it gets to the show, you get the little like snippet of fortune cookie ideas at the beginning. Yeah, too. So you do get a little bit.
Yeah, those were tough. Henry and I really struggled. Like after the episode was written, now we got to come up with the fortune cookie thing at the beginning.
Yeah.
So this is where my script originally started, the Battle of Christophsis, and we got James Arnold Taylor doing a pretty accurate impression of Ewan McGregor doing Obi-Wan. Of course, Ewan McGregor was also trying to do an impression of Alec Guinness doing Obi-Wan. So a lot of levels sort of working there. Matt Lanter was the voice of Anakin Skywalker. We started, when the show started, Matt Lucas, who did the voice of Anakin in the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars, was originally scheduled to do it, and then he ended up getting replaced kind of early on. I think there was nothing to do with his performance or work. I think they were just really trying to differentiate themselves from the Genndy show, so they just wanted to start fresh.
They replaced a few. The Kat Tabor, who was Padme, I think, was not Padme in the Genndy one. There's a few differences.
And Asajj Ventress.
Yes. It was great.
Great a lot in the Genndy show. So you can see like the painterly style of the animation here. This is something really stylized, and they hadn't quite cracked it yet, but it was supposed to look like someone had painted this, and you can see like the imagined brush strokes, even though it's all done on a computer. Right there, that was how my script started, with Obi-Wan saying, "Come on then," which is my tip to Lawrence of Arabia, because there's a scene in Lawrence of Arabia where they're attacking the train, and Lawrence says, "Come on then."
Great.
One of many cinematic references in Star Wars. I just wanted to slip that in.
Yeah, this show especially loves an homage, I feel like.
Very much so. And Star Wars in general,
totally.
You could argue. As a matter of fact, when I first met George, he was talking about the dynamic he wanted between Obi-Wan and Anakin, and he immediately said they're like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid from the '69 movie written by William Goldman, which is a reference I totally got. And so George, great student of film history, he would often communicate his ideas by referencing other classic films.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that's great. So Anakin is the younger, hot-headed, shoot from the hip kind of gunslinger guy. Obi-Wan is a little wiser, slightly more reserved, a little more sophisticated, a little more ironic in his attitude. So you can see like a lot of work was put into the action set pieces of this, and I think they come off better than a lot of the other stuff that's in the show.
How much are you writing that into the script?
Quite a there's a give and take. Some stuff I would get pretty detailed about, and other things were sort of left to the episode directors that dealt with the show. But again, there was give and take, and sometimes storyboard artists, as we'll get into maybe later, there were a lot of cooks on the show at first, and so everybody was a Star Wars fan. Oh, okay. General Worm Loathsome, voiced by Corey Burton.
A perfect Star Wars name.
Super talent. Well, that's it. George apparently, I was told, has like a huge backlog of character designs and planet environments
Yeah.
and spaceships, and because he just has concept artists working.
Sure.
So he would have literally filing cabinets of stuff. And so when we were getting to breaking this episode and fleshing out the story ideas, and we were trying to decide, who's going to be the villain for the Christophsis segment, one day I got a couple of pages of sketches on my desk.
Wow.
Here it is, straight from George's files.
Wow.
His name is General Wormloathson. Okay, let's go with it.
Great.
So
That's amazing.
yeah. So
I mean, it is like, it's got to be thousands of pages that are, canceled concept art that he just didn't want for something.
sitting in a filing
Yeah.
cabinet. So he's very, not in a database either. George
Sure.
is very analog
course.
and old school.
In some ways.
Yeah, true. So Ahsoka,
Mm-hmm.
voiced by Ashley Eckstein,
Mm-hmm.
not only a great voice actress, very bright personality. She was up at the ranch a lot. She ended up being very active just in the promotion of the show and
Yeah.
doing like a lot of press and a lot of featurettes. I have a kind of amusing story involving Ashley that I'll save for the end credits because
Okay.
it's kind of tangentially involved with the actual Star Wars.
Great.
Kind of a bold decision from George to give Anakin a Padawan.
Yeah.
There's already been a lot written about it. Why didn't we see her in Revenge of the Sith?
Mhm.
But
The show works its way to figure that out.
yeah, it
You get
does.
there.
It does.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, and Dave Filoni has done interviews and been about the time George said, "So Anakin's going to have a Padawan,"
Yeah.
and Dave, being the strong Star Wars fan that he is, said, "No, Anakin doesn't have a Padawan." And George said, "Anakin has a Padawan." So guess what?
Guess what? You're doing
From
it, buddy.
that point forward, Anakin had a Padawan.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea, maybe, especially if you're doing a show that is supposed to appeal to
Mm-hmm.
a younger demographic.
Mm-hmm.
But also remember, George was raising his kids by this point.
Sure.
So at this point in his career, I think younger characters were maybe more front of mind. We get young Anakin in Phantom Menace. We get
Yeah.
young Indiana Jones Chronicles around this time.
Yeah.
And then so young Ahsoka. You can see too in the scene we just saw, in this scene, her facial expressions are a little more articulated than some of the human characters. She's an alien, so you can sort of get away with it, I guess. But you see, her eyes are a little bit bigger and her face is a little more articulate.
Yeah.
Her limbs are a lot more thin than a
Uh-huh.
human would be. So there's a thing in animation known as stretch and squash where
Yes.
characters can be more expressive than a human could be and
Sure.
more elastic, and so they can therefore express more emotion. So that works for her, and I think that helps a lot with her character. But see, with the human characters at this point, the animation software was still kind of new, and
Mhm.
so they couldn't articulate the faces quite as much. You can see their eyes and their eyebrows move,
Mm-hmm.
but the rest of their cheek muscles and other things
Yeah.
are a little stiff at this point still. So then we cut away to Asajj and Dooku,
Mm-hmm.
voiced by the actual Christopher Lee.
Crazy.
Yeah. Again, Corey Burton, who did General Loathsome and who sounds a little bit like Sean Connery,
Yes.
apparently.
Yes.
Also voiced Dooku for us during the series, but they brought Christopher Lee back.
Does a really good job too.
Fantastic.
His Dooku's amazing.
Yeah, again, I had to double check sometimes, is that Corey?
Yeah,
or is
yeah,
that
yeah.
Christopher Lee?
Yeah.
Asajj Ventress there, who
Mm-hmm.
was the one of the few things from the Genndy series.
Mm-hmm.
She was created there and that we brought over to this Clone Wars series. So again, Ahsoka was a little bit controversial with some fans, and George wanted her to be a little rebellious and to
Mhm.
be kind of a thorn in Anakin's side, which from a dramatic standpoint, I can certainly understand. I don't think that's a bad idea. A lot of us were kind of concerned that, is she going to be annoying?
Sure.
And and I think that we sort of had to work to find the right balance of being a dramatic foil for Anakin, but not so annoying that she would be off-putting. There's a lot of push and pull.
Which I think happens anytime you have a child or a younger person
Mhm.
brought in. You're like, let's make sure we're not being annoying.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Absolutely, yeah.
hard.
And so they have nicknames for each other, Sky Guy and Snips.
Yeah.
Those are George's things.
I was
Those
going to
are- he
ask if those were you or George.
No, he was there. George was always trying to put more of those in the show, and
Yeah.
we were maybe looking for ways maybe to take some of them out here and there. Captain Rex, voiced by D. Bradley Baker, super challenging task because he has to voice all of the clones.
Yeah.
So
And
they
he's still doing it, too.
So they sound alike, but they have to be differentiated. And that was also a big writing challenge for us because
Yeah.
we had to make sure they reach different. So in the TV version of this would have been the end of the first act. They discover the energy shield.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, that would be like kind of a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And you would leave. I will say a lot of the reviews criticized this film when it came out, and they said, oh, a lot of this dialogue is really repetitive, which I don't disagree with. The reason it was kind of repetitive was when you were doing a TV show and you cut to commercial, people are going to leave and go to the bathroom. And when the show comes back, it's traditional to have like a couple of lines of recapping dialogue saying, oh, I can't believe we're still stuck in this elevator, or I can't believe, just to recap what's going
The
on.
droids are still advancing. Blah,
The droids
blah,
are
blah,
saying,
blah.
we have to stop that energy shield.
Yes.
And when I saw the premiere of this movie, there were a lot of things that kind of surprised me, and that was one of them. I was like, oh, the recapping dialogue has been left in.
Interesting.
That's going to be a problem. And yeah, some people like kind of objected to that.
Sure.
We just saw General Lotham again. You remarked that was quite a name.
It really is.
George really likes his aptonyms.
Yes.
So they aptonym a name that sort of reflects a character's
Yes.
demeanor or occupation. Seems to have become a fixture in the Star Wars universe.
Grievous.
Again, the best ones I think work when they could plausibly be a human
Yeah.
name.
Yeah.
Han Solo,
Sure.
one of the greatest names in the history of movies.
I've
because
never thought of that as being one
he's
of
a
those.
loner.
Yeah, no,
when
you're
it starts
right.
out.
Yeah.
So loner, and also that could plausibly be a human's name, like
Yeah.
Hope Solo, the soccer player
Oh, sure.
in popular culture, the lead character in the Man from U.N.C.L.E. TV show,
Uh-huh.
Napoleon Solo.
Oh.
So we've kind of been made used to that. But then, in Star Wars, who's the most heavy-set X-wing pilot?
Of course, Jack Porkins.
Porkins.
Yes.
That's verging on body shaming a
Yes,
little
of
bit.
course it is.
But, and then, like you said, Grievous.
Yeah.
They got a little bit more pronounced as the series went on.
Yeah.
And Darth Maul.
Sure.
Maul sounds violent. That one kind of works.
Do you know the Darth Icky story?
I don't know.
We'll talk about it in a little bit.
Okay.
Once your episode is done. we'll
No,
talk about
that's
Darth-
fine. So, yeah. So we get to Worm Loathsome. It's like, I bet he's the bad guy.
Yeah. I got a pretty good feeling about this one.
So, and this footage I think was brought up from Castle of Salvation, or it was made for the movie to try to inject the plot about Jabba's son being kidnapped, Rada, and integrate it into the first act, which I'm not sure was entirely successfully accomplished, but just to do a little Monday morning quarterbacking here. Again, no shade to anyone who worked in the movie, because we can get into how talented everyone is, and everyone was putting their best foot forward. But so they follow the bounty hunters to that castle, and then they call in all the Jedi. Don't you want to have eyes on Rada first? Don't you want to make sure
Yeah.
before that? No,
Fair.
maybe they didn't have the footage to include that, but just to
Look, famously, they didn't have their shit together.
so
The Jedi.
the Jedi, yeah, okay,
So-
they're scrambling.
yeah.
So that's fine. Here we get to the energy shield, which is disabling the energy shield becomes like the biggest story spine, the goal that they're trying to accomplish, like in the first act here.
Yeah.
So I was always a little confused by the physics of the energy shield, and because it's strong enough to repel these artillery shells. However, as we'll see in a minute, Anakin and Ahsoka can sneak past it by hiding under a crate.
For sure.
So Henry and I had Henry was no, this is how it works, and
Yeah.
really, and and we went back and forth with it in it a lot to try to figure out the physics. It still doesn't 100% work for me logically, but this is.
At what point
Star
do you
Wars.
just go, it's just Star Wars?
Yeah, at that point,
right?
that is the
It
point.
is. I think so, right? Yeah.
I would say, it's Star Wars, and this had kind of been established at the end of Phantom Menace that there was, for a Force shield, seems a little elastic, and there are
Yeah.
like a ways around it, but
It works the way it needs to work for the movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we also have sort of two simultaneous storylines going on. We've got we'll sort of split off here. We'll have Anakin going with Ahsoka behind enemy lines, and then we'll have this second storyline with Obi-Wan confronting General Loathsome, and that's a very George thing too. If you think, certainly to Star Wars, where you have the storyline of Obi-Wan and Luke in one storyline, and then Leia on the Death Star. In an Empire, you have Luke with Yoda on Dagobah, which is kind of intercut. George told me once, he said one of the most important words in storytelling is meanwhile. So you could cut to something. He may have been quoting someone else. The director John Sturges says something similar in his director's commentary for Bad Day at Black Rock. But so that's also
It's a good quote, though.
Yeah, when it came down to breaking stories for Star Wars, that ended up being like a go-to that we could always look back on and say, oh, but meanwhile, okay, and that would like sort of help us out. We've got the droid Deca here, which is they were very specific about the power levels for droids, and you had the battle droids, which are easily dispatched, super battle droids, which are the ones sort of marching down
the gray ones,
the main street, and then you have the droid Decas, and they were very clear about droid Decas. These are like very difficult for one Jedi to kill, and I think there was both some fans and there was some internal talk at Lucasfilm about Gendy's series, where some Jedi would like easily dispatch like some droids that should be. So once again, George had this planned out. It's like, no, these are the rules of the world, and
the powers are a little all over the place in that series, for better and for worse. Like it's very stylized. It's very everything's a little jacked up to 11.
Yeah, and it's a little bit. It's more because it's 2D animation, and so it's a little bit more explicitly a cartoon than this is, which is like somewhere between live action but also animated, and it's kind of 3D
for sure
animation. I was a little like destroying the field generator. If I could go back, I would like try to pitch something else, because that's also the climax of Return of the Jedi. It's the end of Phantom Menace. Got to destroy the field generator. It's just, but again, maybe in the Star Wars universe, that is a standard military operation that you have to try to accomplish. So
that's a nice way to brush stuff aside, where it's like, well, that's just how it is in this world.
In the world,
He's got a good look.
He does have a good look. I like that a lot. I always thought, though, just from his name, Worm Loathsome, you would think he would be not, a little cruder and like drooling or something, because he's like loathsome. But it sort of works for the character. Like, this is someone who aspires to sophistication. This is like putting on my writer hat, sir. And this was one idea I pitched. It's like, well, to stall him, wouldn't Obi-Wan say, "Oh, well, we have to negotiate terms," and sort of appeal to General Loathsome's desire to be a little bit more sophisticated? I'm way overthinking this, but at least,
but it's good that you are. That's,
But that was so. This was like sort of one segment that I was able to contribute, where they was like, well, they would sophisticate, and he would just stall for time, and he would like sort of get away with it.
I should also say this little rabbit droid that he's got comes back in Book of Boba Fett. They bring back that type of droid, and it's great.
Patrick, thank you. I completely I remember that now that you pointed out. I'd completely forgotten about it.
He's got some good laughs in that show.
It's been almost 20 years since
I get it.
Since
I get it.
Since I got to work on this. But again, now we introduce like a third storyline with Yularen. And again, this stuff was sort of added, I think, later, because they were trying to integrate the kidnapping storyline a little bit. If I were to, again, just a Monday morning quarterback a little bit, this, the first act of the movie does not have as much to do with the rest of the movie as it probably should in an ideal situation. So,
but on the other hand, a lot of the Star Wars movies start with that first scene where it's like Revenge of the Sith, or capturing Palpatine, all that stuff, and like it feels a little separate from the rest of the movie. So you're just in a grand tradition of Star Wars.
True. And like if
Hoth,
I was going to say, So this was always pitched. George had the idea of like, there would be these droids that were sort of guards for the energy shield, buried, and it became like a minefield, and then Ahsoka would sort of actually, trip them, and that was one thing that would like sort of make Anakin more pissed off at her.
Yeah.
We've got like a wall gag coming up where she's able to force pull a wall that sort of falls around Anakin.
Yes.
And that is clearly an homage to the Buster Keaton
Yeah.
gag from Steamboat Bill Jr., where
Like a house falls on him. Or something.
the side of a house falls and he's saved because he's standing in the right place.
Yeah.
There's some behind the scenes footage. Here we go. Of right there.
He did it.
Much easier to do in animation
Yes, that's true.
than in live action.
Yeah.
There's some footage of George writing one of the prequels, and he's taking a break and he's watching some Buster Keaton.
Oh, wow.
And I wondered if that sort of put this idea
That
in
makes
front
sense.
of mind for him.
Yeah.
It's been replicated other times, like Jackie Chan did it in a movie, and Tom Green and Freddy Got Fingered.
Oh,
actually,
sure. Yeah.
replaced it. So anyway,
It feels like a George thing. It feels like something he would.
absolutely
Gravitate towards.
Again, taking something from classic cinema.
Yeah.
All right, so Obi-Wan is still stalling here. As I was writing this scene, at a moment coming up, Lotham is going to have to instruct his guards to restrain Obi-Wan, and I was like, "What's he got to say? Is he going to say seize him?" I can't do that. Can I? That's such a cliched line. And I tried to think of something else but then after a while, I was like, "No, this is like the one chance."
Yes.
In my writing career, there he is, seize him, that I, with a straight face, I could have a character yell, seize him.
Yeah.
So then I just kind of embraced it. And then I just loved typing that out. And I was like,
That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is not going to be.
I mean, that's kind of the best thing about Star Wars, where you're just like, yeah, he can say that, and it's fine. It doesn't seem crazy in this
No one
world.
has remarked about that. And this
Totally.
is just like my own personal struggle with
Yes.
that until I just like ended up just kind of embracing it.
No, it's good.
So now, then it's revealed that Obi-Wan was just simply stalling for time, and he's not going to have any of this nonsense with any of the super battle droids. And then at the same time, Yularen shows up, and they say the Separatist forces. So is it just a coincidence that he happens to show up at the same time that the energy shield? Again, if I could Monday morning quarterback this, I mean, wouldn't it have been better to have like the energy shield somehow connected to the blockade that they had around the planet, and therefore, when Anakin and Ahsoka destroyed it, then that allowed the reinforcements to come through.
No, that makes sense. If only we had the writer here.
Yeah. Well, if we had whoever was ultimately
Yes.
responsible for the final cut. 'Cause
Someday.
like I said, there was a lot of stuff that was kind of surprising to me when I saw the finished film.
You can really see the painting in the skies back here.
100%.
It's very cool looking. Even that looks like a backdrop that would be on a set.
Yeah,
you know?
I think that was like kind of a cool choice because they're not trying to be photoreal, but
Totally.
at the same time they're trying to be a little bit more visually interesting.
Yeah.
So Anakin and Ahsoka resolved kind of their differences. He's accepted her as a Padawan thanks to this adventure. Feels like this movie's over. So that they've resolved the differences.
Yeah.
General Lotham's been captured.
Yeah. Great. All right.
So
Well,
great. It's been great being here, Patrick.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. No, so
Hang on.
oh no, wait. Right, so now we're gonna
keep going for another hour
going.
or so. Yeah.
So and they tease some of those walkers in the background that are going to show up in the next episode. Again, this is, I think, one of the narrative problems with the movie that I wish had been fixed is, there's a lot of narrative closure at the end of every act because
Sure.
it ends up because it was supposed to be an episode of a TV show. If this was an episode of the TV show, it would stop here and then
And it does feel like the ending of a later episode of the show. You know what I mean? Like
Oh.
how the show ends up being. This feels like
this-
the ending.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you kind of a similar problem. There's a recent movie, House of Dynamite, which feels like it ends twice.
Yes.
At the end of the first act, and then at the end of the second act, until
Yes.
it finally ends. This
And then when it ends, you go, wait, that's it?
and this movie ends 3 times, like at the end of the first act, at the midpoint, and at the end of the second act.
Yeah.
So that's a big ask for the audience to kind of re-engage after
Yeah.
they felt like the movie's
Totally.
over. So
At what point
Mhm.
in the writing were you told this is going to be a movie?
funny story, Patrick.
Yeah.
So I had finished work on the first season and moved back to LA. All right. So George, we had a lot of like 2 and 3 part episodes.
Yeah.
Because George has an imagination that is expansive.
Mhm.
And so we would do an episode and he said, we could do like a sequel to this episode, make it like a 2-parter.
Yeah.
And he would say, when we could do like a prequel episode and make it like a 3-parter. So we had these storylines that kept expanding over to be arcs
Yeah.
over. And so we had, so these 4 episodes ended up being what was referred to internally as the long form episode project, which we weren't sure where it was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it's the pilot because it introduces Ahsoka, but we didn't know if it was going to be so special 2-hour premiere of Clone Wars
Sure.
tonight. And so it was going to be the first episode wherever it ended up airing, or maybe it would be a direct-to-DVD thing.
Sure.
And
Feels
then,
right for that era.
Maybe.
Feels
yeah.
like something that would have happened.
So anyway, a year after we wrapped the first season, I was back in LA and working on other stuff. I got an email from my friend, writer-director David Benullo. Subject said, "Hey," and then the text was, "Congrats on the movie."
Oh, no.
And I had to email him back and go, "I'm sorry, what?"
Oh, no.
And then he sent me a link, and there was an article in Variety. Star Wars coming back as an animated film,
Uh-huh.
which is going to set up the Clone Wars series, which is going to be airing on Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
Great.
that's what happened to the long form project. It became
Wild.
this. So I guess I wrote a Star Wars movie.
I mean,
Or
that's great.
So I think it's more accurate to say I wrote a script that ended up getting
Of course.
incorporated and repurposed.
Yeah.
So that was like kind of surprising, but again, as a huge Star Wars fan, that was like a thrill. And so I reached out to Henry and Steve and like, hey,
We did it.
we're gonna do that. We're gonna be credited as a Star Wars movie. And to be, and just to be put all my cards on the table again. Everybody who worked on this was super talented, really devoted Star Wars fan, and so if I say anything critical coming up, it's nothing against
totally.
anyone who worked on it, because there were just a lot of cooks in the kitchen. There were some organizational and financial issues maybe, which I can talk about later, that I think contributed to the movie coming out. But so this movie was not critically well received when
Sure.
when it came out.
Yeah.
If I had some of my writer friends who were very kind, and they was like, my kids loved it.
Yeah.
And which was lovely, and it was nice to hear. But look, if you go into Rotten Tomatoes, the Star Wars Holiday Special has a higher critics rating
that true?
than this movie does. Oh, no. The Star Wars Holiday Special. So that was like that was like kind of emotionally hard to get through.
Sure,
From the high of, hey, congratulations, you've written a Star Wars movie. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, I got a writing credit on a Star Wars movie. To, I've written.
Yeah.
But
I do think that this led to, for better and ill, I guess, the current state of Star Wars. Like,
Yeah.
Star Wars is TV now, pretty much. you know?
Strange to admit, but yeah.
And it really, like, the show went on for 7 years, has had, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 spinoffs at this point. Like, this kicked off, like, a big chunk of Star Wars, and especially for, like, people under a certain age, this is mostly what Star Wars is at this point. You know?
That's really strange because my generation, you know, it was like it's the original trilogy, and then
Ahsoka has more screen time than probably Luke Skywalker at this point.
That is a strange thing to
right?
wrap my head
around.
Yeah, and then the other. I mean, we can look back at. I hope everybody who worked on it can look back on it with a sense of humor now. But too, Patrick, some people say this is the least financially successful Star Wars film ever made. I like to think of it as the 12th highest grossing Star Wars film of all time. I don't think you can dispute that.
I would never even try.
I'm a glass half full kind of person.
I would never even try.
And as we're recording this in about 3 months, Mandalorian Grogu will come out.
Yeah.
So maybe this will transition to the 13th highest grossing Star Wars film of all time.
Hey,
we'll see.
There's a chance it'll stay 12. You never know.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
That's possible. Yeah. So
how did you get hired?
This is a long story. So we
got
have
nowhere
some
to
time.
go. Yeah.
So around 2006, I was sort of a mid-level TV writer. I staffed on a couple of TV shows. I had written a few pilots. I had also sold a feature script at that point, and I had done some feature development. So I was kind of in the mix with a lot of different things. And one day my agent at the time called and said, "Hey, so Lucasfilm is looking around for writers for this mystery TV project that they're working on." And I immediately said, "It's Clone Wars. It's got to be Clone Wars, right?" And my agent was like, what? Because I'd still been going to Comic-Con every year, and I was still going on Ain't It Cool News and all like the entertainment websites. And there'd been chatter in the fan community for about a year that as good as Genndy Tartakovsky's Clone Wars was, Lucasfilm was going to do their own version. And they were, so my agent was like, I don't know. But anyway, they're looking for writers who have sci-fi experience, and you're one of those. We need you to sign a release form before they'll read your stuff, which is a little unusual.
Yeah.
Because usually in TV, if you send a writing sample to a project, as long as it's submitted by an agent or a manager or a lawyer, it's kind of considered legit. But Lucasfilm was very cautious and really suggested that, you had to sign something that said if they ever do anything that's remotely close to what you submitted, you promise you're not going to sue them and not get bent out of shape. I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
Send me the form.
Yeah.
Signed the contract, sent it off. They sent some writing samples to Lucasfilm. I didn't hear anything for about 6 weeks. Then my agent calls again. "Hey, man, Lucasfilm read your stuff and really liked it."
Okay.
So Catherine Winder, who is the executive producer at the time of the series, is going to be in LA and wants to have breakfast. And I'm like, I'm on board. This is going to be fantastic. At that point, I had gotten my agent to do some recon and intel, and he said, this is in fact the Clone Wars. And they're looking for writers who can just write episodes. B, they're also creating a new position called supervising writer, who's somebody who can give notes on all the scripts, maybe do a little rewriting, and maybe sort of like steer the writing portion of this project. And I was like, that sounds really interesting. So Catherine came down. I met her, lovely woman. We really hit it off. I had also gotten my agent to find out like specifically what they were looking for. Yeah. A couple of things were George wanted more of a live action. He felt like it was for whatever, in the early stages of the development, he felt like it was maybe going in a direction that was a little too cartoony. He wanted a little more live action. Great. I'd written for live action stuff. There were enormous budget concerns.
Sure.
And the show was behind schedule and over budget. And they really wanted somebody who could, from the story angle, help contain things a little bit.
Did they know it was going to be on Cartoon Network at that point?
No, they didn't.
Okay. That was my other.
I'll come back. That's another story too. I can come back to. So budgetary things, and also it was a little. It sounded like it was going to be a little dicey politically because George's attitude in TV and generally, you would have like a writer showrunner.
Sure.
George, coming from the feature world, didn't subscribe to that. George's, okay, this is a bit of a digression too.
No.
We'll get back to my job interview, but George's, George is great. I'm not saying anything out of school here, but George's greatest strength and his greatest weakness is he does things the way he thinks they should be done. It does not listen to anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
He Making American Graffiti, people, that's a stupid title.
Yeah.
No one's going to see this. Huge hit.
Yeah.
He wants to do a movie called Star Wars. That's science fiction, doesn't make any money.
Mm-hmm. Joke's on you guys.
Star Wars is a bad title. Women won't go see that.
Yeah.
George is like, I'm going to do what I think is right.
Yeah. And now we're here doing this.
Creates a global phenomenon, makes billions of dollars. If you have that experience, I imagine that's going to give you a huge amount of confidence in, I'm going to do it the way I think it should be done.
100%.
So usually in TV series, they would have like a writer's room, and they didn't have it on the show. Apparently they didn't have a writer's room on Young Indiana Jones Chronicles either. So I having worked in TV and in film, I think there's a reason directors should be in charge of films, and there's a reason showrunners are writers, because there's a lot of narrative material to be generated.
Totally.
Anyway, so they didn't. So it was going to be kind of a dicey political situation, because at that point they had Henry Gilroy.
Yeah.
Great guy, fantastic writer. He was the only one. They were farming out other scripts to freelance writers, but there was no writer's room. And he was, as fantastic as he is, he was overwhelmed.
I'm sure. Yeah,
and
you're swamped. You're
so they're
underwater.
like, well, we're going to bring in another writer, and you would supervise.
Uh-huh.
So that was like, I would be the new guy, but I also be the new guy in charge. So
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
a little. So anyway, so I meet with Catherine. We had a great time. I've been on some disastrous job interviews before and staffing meetings, but I was really prepared for this one. I had my agent find out, what are they looking for?
Yeah.
I came up with very specific answers to, you're looking for someone who can help with the budget. I started out in low budget movies. You're looking for somebody who could add maybe a little humor to it. My first job was on a sitcom. It was going really well.
Yeah.
So I was feeling pretty good about it. Also, just personality wise, I think she sensed I would be a good fit for working with Dave and working with Henry, and I wouldn't upset the apple cart personality wise.
Yeah.
Too much.
You'd bring balance to the force.
Thank you. But we talked about Star Wars a lot, and I have a deep Star Wars knowledge.
Yeah.
And so like at the end of the breakfast, he was like, okay, would you be available to fly up to the ranch this weekend?
Mm-hmm.
You mean Skywalker Ranch? I think I can make time for that.
Yeah. I'll figure it out.
I'm available for that. Okay, great. So then I start to feel like things are looking kind of likely. Like this is my job to lose at this point.
Yeah.
So a few days later, a plane ticket shows up. I fly up on a Sunday, I flew up to Oakland International Airport. There's a rental car waiting for me with a map, up to Skywalker Ranch. So I call ahead, and I'm supposed to meet Dave Filoni for lunch. Sit down and meet Dave.
Yeah.
Great guy. We get along really well. Again, both huge Star Wars fans.
Are you eating in the cafeteria, or are you eating in an office?
We are meeting at a restaurant in San Rafael at this point. So I'm not even at the
Just
ranch.
trying to show off my ranch knowledge.
No,
here.
this is great. We'll get to that.
Okay.
So I meet with, and I'm, Dave, what is George like? And he's at personal level, totally nice guy.
Yeah.
But, but he also lays out kind of that he doesn't say this, but this is what I found out. It's not a writer-centric environment. Sometimes I would say not writer-friendly, which is not, everybody's super friendly.
Sure.
Everybody's super nice. But the writing was just sort of like the first step in
Yeah.
the process.
Sorry, Rada just showed up on screen.
Rada,
Rada,
there we go.
very quickly, Rada about to be a movie star.
Played by
Jeremy Allen White.
Allen White of all. I would not have guessed.
I assumed you guys planned that out back in 2008. You said he's coming.
We had pictures of young Jeremy Allen White, pre-Shameless, on the board. This is our guy.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
No, so so up at the I meet with Dave, and he says, George, the way he put it to me, George likes to get the footage made, and where George really makes the movie is in the editing suite.
Sure.
So the scripts were just kind of like the first step in a process that would go to storyboard artists and then segment directors and then the voice actors. And then, so we were just, again, it was not really focused on writing the scripts, doing multiple drafts of the scripts. When skipping ahead a little, when I got up there, Henry and I were just like working in a MASH unit a little bit. We were just like, okay, we finished this script and we should do a couple more drafts. No time. You got to get it to the storyboard artist and do a scratch track. And so anyway, so it's kind of a mad scramble there. Anyway, but back when I'm meeting with Dave Filoni, really laid back, and we got along on a personal level, so that seemed like that would work out. And then I was like, well, I'm going to go up to the ranch now, and he's like, okay, and we'll see you on Monday. And so I drive up to the ranch, and it's Sunday, so it's kind of deserted. It has its own fire department. So, and they have an inn, which I was going to stay at, and the inn people are not there because it's Sunday, and so the fire chief checks me in, and here it is. And I was like, can I walk around the ranch? And he's like, yeah, if you want. And most of the buildings are locked.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty laid back guy, and I've never had a panic attack, I don't think. But it was kind of mind blowing.
Yeah.
And I got a little like, oh my God.
Just because you were overwhelmed.
I was at Skywalker Ranch.
Yeah, of
and
course.
I should not be here.
Yeah.
This is, this is crazy. And I walked around to some of the buildings, and I had to call a couple of my friends. I hadn't told anyone I was even up for this job because I didn't want to jinx it.
Of course.
But I called a bunch of my friends and was like, I'm at Skywalker Ranch.
Oh my God.
What and very nice. They were like, dude, that's cool. Like, yeah. Enjoy it. And
they don't get it.
They talk but they talked me down a little bit too, which is great. And and then I had like kind of a long talk with myself. It's like, if I can't find joy in this moment of being at Skywalker Ranch, what's wrong?
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just gonna go with it. And then the next day met Henry Gilroy, who was grateful to have like another writer on the premises.
I'm sure, yeah.
And we got along really well. Again, and on paper I was the supervising writer, but he and I ended up working in parallel, and it was just because there was just too much work to do. I met some of the other the physical production people and some of the animators and it was a community of nerds. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
So then I came back, and I talked to Catherine at the end of the day, and she had she was like, well, what do you think? And I'm like, oh, this feels pretty good. And I would have to move up there because it was going to take like 8 or 9 months at least. So she showed me like a 1 inch by 1 inch like QuickTime on her laptop of some wireframe stuff they'd done. It was very and it was of the Castle Assault.
Oh wow.
And I was like, and it was not fully rendered by any stretch. And I was like, yeah, okay, that looks kind of amazing. It's Star Wars. I didn't come out. I was like, of course I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
There was a little discrepancy. Like when I met Dave, or when I met Catherine at the breakfast, I said, so how's this going to work? And she said, well, you and Dave report to me, and I report to George. I was like, okay, that seems like that would work. And then when I met Dave, I said, so I was talking to Catherine about like the hierarchy, and he said, yeah, you report to Catherine, I report to George. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what am I going to say? No, because like the org chart,
is
didn't
off
line
a little
up.
bit. Yeah.
So anyway, so that was fine. I'm going to run it. I'd get along with Henry. And then, a week afterwards, like an offer came through, and I ran onto the internet and got an apartment in. I got an inflatable bed from Bed Bath & Beyond, threw it in my truck, and took my desk apart, put it in there, and drove to San Rafael.
That's amazing.
Started on Monday. And then, again, like when I finally got there, like on the first day, they gave me like a bunch of the scripts that they had in development. And then I could read those. And then that calmed me down a little bit more too. Because it's scripts. It's words on a page, which is what I'm used to dealing with.
Yeah.
And some of them work. Some of them are a little rough, but I know how to fix them.
Sure.
So that was reassuring. And then when I got there, just to give you an idea too, like the first day at work, Catherine took me to eat at the
commissary,
at the main house at the commissary. And when we kind of went through all the stories that were in development, and they had made a lot of the story choices for the first 3/4 of the season. I think there were like 5 or 6 episodes at the back half of the season that were just blanks, and we didn't know what was going to happen there. And she kind of went through and was like, well, this one should probably be your first priority. And then, we got to another one. This one should really actually be your first. And I left that meeting with there were 5 things that were my first priority to take care of on the Clone Wars. And I was like, man, this is a lot of pressure. But it worked out great. And there were just to give you an example, like what the supervising aspect was. Like there was one episode that everybody liked, but they hadn't quite been able to crack it yet. And the writer had done a couple of drafts. And one way I was really able to contribute to the first season of the show is I read the script and I said, oh, here's the problem with it. Okay, there are too many characters here. These 2 characters are redundant. You can combine that. This moment should actually be the end of the first act, so we can move this up, and that'll give us more time here to explore this other. So stuff like that.
Sure.
And I don't want to, I'll credit the writer actually did a really good job of executing those notes. But that was like the kind of thing I was doing a lot of. And the fact that we didn't have a writer's room and that we had a bunch of freelancers doing scripts who we couldn't say, here's the first 5 episodes of the show just to give you an idea. So tonally, they were kind of all over the place.
Sure.
And there was like a guy who had done primarily comedy, and it was like a Family Guy script that came back, and there was a lot of fourth wall breaking jokes. And I was like,
interesting.
Okay.
Not that.
It's not tonally, story-wise, okay. Tonally, we need to do like a lot of work on this one. And, and there were a couple of other writers who just were not familiar with Star Wars. And there would be scenes where it was like, Obi-Wan sits at the controls of his Imperial cruiser and steers it. And I was like, no, this is like a battleship, okay?
Yeah.
You're not have one guy sitting in a cockpit steering it. So just like a lot of technical stuff like that. I'd say Henry and Dave, I thought I was like a really stone cold Star Wars fan. Henry and Dave, I may be an 8. And they're like stone cold 10s. They would like Dave was much more familiar with like the extended universe stuff, and Henry also, and they were great as far as like, well, what's the name of this?
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Would you go to them? Would you go? It was like Pablo around, or like Wikipedia? Did that even exist at that point? I don't know.
I don't think if it did, we weren't aware of it.
Sure.
Yeah, we would email stuff. I don't think I may have met Pablo once or twice, but we would email him occasionally but again, Dave and Henry were astonishingly well versed in. Dave had read all of the spin-off novels and all the comic books, and I was, I knew the movies backwards and forwards, and I'd read Splinter of the Mind's Eye back in the day, and so I was familiar with some of that stuff. But as far as my contributions were more with just like the story mechanics and like doing dialogue polishes, some of which survived the production process and some of them didn't. George was still very hands-on, especially in the first season, and he was the final say on everything. So everything kind of went through his final pass or perusal.
Was it a lot of meetings with him, or would you? This got sent to George. George sends it back. Like, what was the vibe with George?
It was kind of the latter.
Yeah.
George was at that point described himself as semi-retired.
Sure.
So he was on site once a week.
Okay.
And usually when he would show up once a week, he would want to work with the editor, the composer. I mean, he's I'm not saying anything out of school because he's constantly in interviews. He will say writing is his least favorite part of the process. So he didn't want to sit with the writers so much. There was always the Thursday pouch to George, which, on Thursday, like at 5, if we had anything to send to him, it had to make it in that pouch. That was like a hard deadline. And we were running stuff to him, across Skywalker Ranch. No, we got something for the pouch. We got a draft of the script to send to him, or we've got some artwork. So there was that. So we were, and then we would also get notes from him, even though if he wasn't there. And at one point, though, like I said, towards the end of the season, there were 5 or 6 episodes where we didn't know what was going to happen. So finally, at that point, there was going to be a writers' summit.
Okay.
For 1 week, and they were going to bring in a bunch of freelance writers.
Yeah.
I was going to run the room for a couple of days, and then for a couple of days, we're going to get to sit with George. And So that worked out. You know, we got a bunch of writers. We broke it like a couple of stories, and then we went to sit in George's office, which is quite an experience.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Let me tell you. I mean, there are pictures like in Architectural Digest of like his office. It does no computer.
Yeah.
No. There was a landline phone, I think, but so a lot of textbooks.
Yeah.
A lot of like general science and history and stuff like not a lot of fiction, but yeah, just like a lot of repository of general knowledge. A lot of Norman Rockwell's
Classically
on the wall. As I was like, well, that's a real.
Yes.
The only Star Wars memorabilia he had was the Dejarik, which is the round chessboard from the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool to have a replica. If you're going to have a replica,
Yeah.
And then I thought about it, and I was like, that's not a replica.
No, that's the thing.
That was on
the Millennium Falcon.
That was on Elstree Studios from 1977.
Yes. Yeah.
That was oh boy.
I sort of wish you were like, all he had was a Zuckuss action figure. It's just like the random thing. That makes sense, though.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And then so for a couple of days we sat with George and listened to him spin out Star Wars stories.
Yeah.
Patrick, that was amazing.
I'm sure.
I'm sure. He has an amazing, indefatigable imagination. I mean, if you meet somebody who has a lot of ideas, you say, oh, they were a fountain of ideas.
Yeah.
David Koepp, after he worked with him on Crystal Skull, said, George is a volcano of ideas. We sat there from whatever it was, 9:30 or 10 in the morning until 5, and he was just talking.
Now, were you taking notes during that, or what?
Well, I started to. I brought like a yellow legal pad, but they had a tape recorder going.
Oh, okay.
And if you ever have seen the Indiana Jones story conference, which is leaked online, that was very similar to the experience.
Interesting.
Where it was just that, and then like a week later, we got a transcription of that, which was like a phone book.
Oh my God.
Of everything that he said.
Where is that?
That I may have a copy of it somewhere. I don't know.
Okay, we'll talk later.
But so that was, there's a scene in the 1954 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea where Captain Nemo takes Aronnax down to the heart of the Nemo. He's going to show him the power source, and Aronnax has to put on like this full body welder's mask to keep him from getting his face burned off when he looks into the heart of the nuclear reactor. For some reason, that reminded me of the experience of sitting in George's office and listening to him talk about Star Wars, because it was amazing. And sometimes he would go off on like different tangents too, and for better or worse, that's communication with George flows in one direction. He was like, this is what I think, and he's created Star Wars.
Sure.
Sometimes, in my quieter moments, I would say I wish it would have been more collaborative, because I have a lot of interesting Star Wars ideas. I think everybody else there did, but that's not George's process. He just wants to. He's got it all in his head.
Yeah.
And he just wants us to help him actualize that stuff in his head.
During that story conference, you're all sitting around. Is anyone asking questions? I assume no one's pushing back on stuff.
No, I mean, at one point there was something that got a little wonky, and it was started to be inconsistent, and I sort of said, pointed it out, and then he stopped for just a second, and I was like, oh no. But then he said, oh no, that's a logical point. Yeah. And then he would go back. But I really got the vibe that that was not how he worked. And, looking back, if he approached things any differently, we wouldn't have gotten Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because he didn't listen to, had his ideas and he wants to get those out. So, but that was all fine. And it was an amazing, amazing experience just to be able to sit at his feet and, and see how he just like spins out all these ideas. I've worked with, some really impressive writers, but George is seriously in a class by himself.
Yeah.
And one thing, like every day at 4 when we were in there, the doors would open. Jane Bay, his longtime assistant, would wheel in the tea cart. And George said, we got used to this when we were shooting Star Wars in England. And we would take a tea break every day at 4.
Great.
And it was like, oh, this is and we all like stop and
When you say a detail like that,
Yeah.
I of course work on the George Lucas Talk Show.
Right.
We have a bit with Jason Mantzoukas where we all drink tea. That's not a detail that I've never heard that before. But that's just it's so funny when things like that line up where you're like, yeah, I guess that makes sense because like
yeah.
it just feels like something you would like. That's so funny.
Yeah, and the second day we were in there with George, like at 3:58, I
Yeah.
heard like the tinkling, like the tea cart outside the door, and I was like, oh, they're about to come in. Nope, tea time is not at 3:58. Tea time is at 4.
They're standing at
So
the door
Jane
outside.
Bay is waiting outside,
Yeah.
looking, and then tea cart
That's-
comes in at 4.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that was certainly the highlight of my stay up there.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you have characters that you felt were easier to either crack stories for, crack the script for, or just characters that you liked working on more?
Yeah, I mean, I again because I was more of a fan of the movies, and so
Yeah.
I anytime I could get to write Anakin or Obi-Wan, I kind of liked writing 3PO a little bit because I knew Anthony Daniels was actually going to voice him
For sure.
too, and
So you
he-
can hear it in your head very easily, I'm sure.
very easily.
Yeah.
Anthony Daniels would give us notes on his dialogue
Oh,
too,
wow.
because he'd been playing
Of course.
3PO for 30 years at that point.
In everything.
In everything,
In toys and commercials, in everything.
unlike-
Books on tape.
Dooku and Mace Windu.
Yeah.
There was never another Anthony Daniels,
Yeah.
never another 3PO voice.
Yeah.
It was always him. So we would get notes, and like I think he would actually, he was right every single time.
Sure.
He would
Sure.
say it would phrase just like little changes in words or phrasings
Yeah.
that would be more 3PO esque.
I guess that's good though that it was right every single because sometimes I
Absolutely.
feel like there are actors that will do that and you're like, come on, man.
Well, that was
Come on.
I was a little okay.
Yeah,
Anytime an actor will say, my character wouldn't say this, I
Sure.
was like, well,
Yeah.
but
But then you're like, damn it, you are
damn
C3PO.
it, you are C3PO,
Yeah.
and you were absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Was there
Mm-hmm.
anything off limits in the show besides like
Oh.
rules stuff? Like this doesn't, I don't know, this doesn't feel Star Wars, but like, were there any characters or anything that they said don't touch it?
Again, like a lot of the creative stories had
Yeah.
been sort of decided by
Yeah.
then. We definitely were always going to stay within the Clone Wars era.
Yeah.
As much as I would have loved to, it's like, can we have a flashback episode? They
Yeah.
find an artifact or something
Yeah.
from the rebellion, and you go back to there. It's like, no,
They do love this era.
that
They love this era. They love these like 10 years.
what
I feel like most of the Star Wars animation has been Clone Wars
yeah.
specific for the most part.
But also, I think, I think this is just pure supposition on my
Yeah.
part. Is like those first 3 films.
Yeah.
Let's not mess with that.
Of course. Yeah.
Let's not.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but that it seemed like,
Yeah.
and also the Clone Wars was just like such a rich, unexplored territory.
I want more in between episode 1 and episode 2 though.
Yeah.
Because there's 10 years or something like that in between, and I'm just like, I want to know more about that. And I feel like they haven't really touched that.
This is dip back into the movie for just a
Yeah.
second.
Yeah.
So when this happened, I was like, oh, Rada is sick.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, fantastic. That's going to be a great raise the stakes kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's going to take us to the end of the movie. But then by the end of this act, it's like, no, he's better now.
He's better.
And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
one less thing for the audience to worry about.
Yeah.
So again, it's easy to Monday morning quarterback.
Was
it
there
and
any
look back?
Was there any discussion about you writing the first episode? Like, did they assign that to you or?
Kind of. I mean, again, I was the new guy there, and they had not written. Originally, I think the idea was like, we're just going to start out
Yeah.
like a lot of Star Wars movies in Meteor Ray.
Yeah.
Anakin and this new character Ahsoka are storming the castle,
Yeah.
and then after they got those 3 episodes kind of up and running, maybe
we add one
she's
more.
kind of going to be a big character here. Maybe
Sure.
we should add an episode. Again, George coming in. Maybe we could do a prequel to these
Yeah.
3 episodes. And then it was the new Padawan, and they had again some of the story ideas we saw in those first act. And so I was kind of, you have to do these like where she arrives, and we have to do this where they don't get along, and then there's the energy generator, and then I kind of had to
Yeah.
fill in some of the details.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. For the first like 2 or 3 seasons of this show, I feel like there's a lot of like, well, this one's a prequel to that one, and this one's a sequel to that one, but they're not next to each other
Yeah.
in air order. Maybe they are in production order, but they would like throw them all over the place, and I always found that very interesting. I've heard it's just because George was just like, I got a new idea.
That would happen a lot.
Here you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also just production-wise, some of them needed more work to be done on them, and so they just got pushed back. And,
Sure.
and I was, even though I had left, I'd moved back to LA after we wrapped on the production of the first season. My name started popping up on episodes like in season 2, and I was like, oh, I actually got screen credit for writing on that one, which was not guaranteed because I was just supervising, and so my fingers were kind of in a lot of episodes in the first season and just kind of under the.
I think you have supervising credit on a few, like in a pretty decent. Let's look.
Going to IMDb.
I am. You've got supervising writer on 3 in season 2.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Those were episodes that were done while I was there during the first season, and then got pushed back for some reason, either because production took a little bit longer than they needed, than they had, or some other episodes came together more quickly, and they're like, oh, we can slot this in at the end of season 1.
Yeah.
But doing 22 episodes without a writer's room was
That's crazy.
it seemed kind of crazy. I mean, maybe that's more standard in animation, but just coming from shows where the writers kind of ruled
Yeah.
and decided, I mean, all the decisions came out of like the showrunner in the writer's room, and for that not to be the case here was a bit of an adjustment for me, but again, very happy to help out if that's I was not in a position where I didn't feel like I was in a position where I could show up and say, okay, stop the train.
Yeah.
We need to reorganize this. We need to hire 3 or 4 more writers
Yeah.
and do that. I was kind of brought into like, this train is moving, and you got to help us build the tracks.
Yeah.
As the train is
That's
barreling
kind of
forward.
exciting, though. I don't know.
It was,
Yeah.
and every day, I found an apartment like kind of close to in San Rafael.
Yeah.
If you look on the map, there's a long 20-minute winding road,
The Lucas Valley Road.
Lucas Valley Road,
Not named after
not
him.
named after an oil prospector, but
Wild.
but you got to think when he was looking for a ranch, he saw
sure.
that and was like,
Yeah, I'm
well,
sure.
okay, this is the one I have to buy.
Yeah.
But when we were in the thick of production, I would drive down that road.
It's a long road.
It's single lane. So if you get
Yeah.
behind somebody slow, or if you're slow and somebody really wants to go behind you, it's just kind of a bottleneck.
Yeah.
But every day I was driving there, and they were always like, man, there are 4 or 5 story problems with various episodes I don't know how to solve right now. And I would do a lot of thinking on that that 20-minute drive.
Yeah.
And by the end of the day, thanks to, Henry, his collaboration and my, us working together, we kind of crack them usually.
Yeah.
But we'd also figured out 5 more problems that the next morning I had to also think of.
Yeah.
But it's just working at the ranch was just like a magic. It's very bucolic, and it's very it doesn't look science fiction-y at all.
It's huge too.
It's sprawling.
Gigantic. Yeah.
And, and like during the first or second week at one point after lunch, Henry was like, you want to go for a walk? And I was like, man, I don't know. We're backlogged here. And he said, let's just go for a walk. And so we just went along around. And, he would talk about the scripts he was working on. I talked about the scripts. And we end up solving, helping each other with the problems.
Yeah.
And that became like a daily ritual for us. Like after lunch, hats off for Henry for pushing me to get out of the office. Because that ended up being like a daily ritual for us, and we ended up getting a lot of inspiration there. It is huge, and it's really sprawling, and there's a wild deer,
Yeah.
and
A bunch of cows.
it's a functioning ranch, and there's a stable. Oh, should we go feed apples to the horses?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess we could do that.
Yeah.
There's
The first time we went with the George Lucas Talk Show guys, because we've gone twice. And the first time was very close to COVID, and they weren't letting people into the buildings at that point who weren't working there just because they were like, we're being careful with stuff. But we got lunch, and we were able to get lunch in the commissary. And when we drove in, we saw the cows up on the hill.
Yeah.
And we were like, we go to the commissary later. We go, what should we have? What's good? And they're like, oh, the chili's good. The burgers are good. We get all that. We get a burger, we're eating it, and they're like, oh, you like it? And we're like, yeah. And they go, you saw when you were driving in, you saw the
oh no,
you saw the cows? We were like, uh-huh. And they're like, well,
wow,
there you go.
It is,
and guess what? It was one of the best burgers I've ever had. So good for them.
It is a fully functioning ranch still,
Yeah.
and they had stable hands, and they had it was And it was so cute, and you were just like, man, this is amazing. Skywalker Sound is there. There's like the fitness center where they had another snack bar sort of, where you could eat there if you didn't want to eat at the main house. There was like we were centered in the carriage house, which was like behind the main. So huge sprawling thing. And I'm remarking one day like, oh, this place is Lake Ewok. I was like, this place is so much bigger than I imagined. They were like, oh, you think this is big? You should see Big Rock Ranch, which is like further down. And for the second season of the show, I wasn't there, but they moved production of the Clone Wars to Big Rock because they needed Skywalker for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Oh, sure.
So
that makes sense.
Anyway, so you should see Big Rock. And so we got a tour of that one as they were retrofitting it and making it fit. Holy crap. And even in some ways, it seemed like it was bigger than Skywalker Ranch. And this is amazing. I said, oh, you think this is big? You should see ILM. You should go down to the Presidio. So Henry and I went down there one day and like got the tour there.
Also
and they had
huge.
Stunning, big, and just like, oh, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, you think this is big? You should see ILM, or you should see Lucasfilm Animation Singapore.
Oh, yeah.
Which I never got to visit that one.
Yeah.
But it just, the empire just like kept growing and growing and getting bigger and
then
bigger.
ILM's in Sydney now, and they have one in Vancouver. They're like all over the place, which is. Did you get to go to the archives?
As a matter of fact, I did, Patrick.
Okay, because the archives, I think it's rare that people get to go to the archives, even if you're working there.
The ranch was amazing too because there was no key cards, and if you were in, you could go anywhere. You could go to Skywalker Sound, you could go to Lake Ewok. Like I said,
think that has changed a little bit now.
It may have changed since it's changed, but that was great. I mean, but the archives with this huge warehouse on the west side of the ranch, that you needed an appointment for.
Sure.
So, at a certain point, we got to take the tour because they have archivists there. They have 3 or 4 people full-time employed just to like
keep an eye on
things. And if anyone wants to know what that's like, look at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark, where you have this huge warehouse just full of stuff from. There's not a whole lot from the prequels.
Yes,
because that's all digital.
Oh,
mostly digital.
That makes sense.
A lot of models from the original trilogy, which is amazing, just rows and rows, and the planes from the Last Crusade are suspended over. There's the partially finished Death Star from Return of the Jedi, and a bunch of Vader masks, a bunch of concept art.
Yeah.
They had all the Ralph McQuarrie original concept art. Now we've all seen this stuff like in magazines and books, but
then it's in front of you.
The originals are so stunning compared to the reproductions. You can just see the detail on the cover, and they take very, very good care of those.
Yeah.
And they had glass matte paintings that they had done for the original trilogy, which are on shower doors.
Yeah.
And
they're big too. Like you don't think about how big a shower door is until it's like what do you call it? Landscape in front of you, and you're like, oh man, this thing is 8 feet tall.
Yeah, and that was such a charming aspect of the original because glass paint. Oh, so they had like specially beveled glass imported from France or something. No, they went to the mid-'70s version of Home Depot, bought shower doors and painted. But now you have like these historic, iconic paintings on it. It's like, well, we have to, keep. You can still see like the handle.
Every so often, not for Star Wars, but a matte painting for something else that is on a shower door shows up on eBay, and I have the thought,
wow.
I'm just like, is it worth it to get one from, I can't even think of someone, some random movie, just because you're like, well, that's the coolest thing. And you look around, I have so much art on my walls, but it is something where I'm like, I would find space for a matte painting from whatever. Again,
I've seen pictures of matte paintings, but to see them in person, it's really... It's so stunning. But they have, and there's also just like other Lucasfilm. There's, Howard the Duck is sitting like in a little chair at the end of a hall.
Yeah.
And like, there's Howard. And they had like the original Millennium Falcon, which they got as far as, which looks nothing like the Millennium Falcon we know. It's, for people who don't know, it's the original version was kind of elongated.
Yes.
And apparently the story I heard, George saw Space 1999 and saw the Eagle spacecraft, and there was like, too close.
Never mind.
We got to do something different because the vision he had too of like, we have to make this different from anything else that's been seen, even though it's familiar in a lot of ways. It's so unique in a lot of other ways. So the original they got as far as building the model there, and then that was design was sort of ported over, and it became the Blockade Runner.
Oh, sure. That makes sense.
For the first movies. So that, and then there's also one shelf too, towards the end of the tour, which has all the awards that Star Wars has won, just like gathering dust there. It's like, oh, there's a couple of Hugos. There's an MTV Music, movie
400 awards on the table.
And they're just like, well, where does George keep those? Oh, they're like in a shelf in the archives at the, maybe, when the Narrative Museum opens up.
Look, I have
Fingers
heard
crossed.
there's not a lot of Star Wars stuff in there.
Really?
That is the rumor that I have heard.
That wouldn't surprise me. So, but anyway, I was wondered how much.
Yeah, the rumor I've heard is it's a lot more Norman Rockwell than you think it's going to be, and a lot, like truly, and a lot of foreign movie posters. Those are the words, because he's like one of the largest foreign movie poster collectors.
That
too.
tracks, because again, every hallway
Yeah.
you would go down to in any building.
Yeah,
As you know,
and it's weird ones too, where you're just like, oh, there's a Grease 2 poster. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
There's an Italian poster for Paths of Glory or
Yes,
something.
yes,
it's just like,
yeah.
oh, that's bizarre.
Yeah,
But also just George. In addition to liking movies, there were trophy cases in the main house where you could go down. And it's like, that's Indiana Jones's hat, and then
there's the Grail. There's
the Grail, and then but also that bowler. Oh, that's Charlie Chaplin's.
Yeah,
Again, not a replica.
yeah.
That was the hat Charlie Chaplin wore, and this is his little cane. And they
So
were just like
insane.
in little glass cases, like downstairs. So if you're ever lacking for, I don't feel inspired today, which
Yeah.
rarely happened there,
Yeah.
but there was a lot of cinema history just like sort of steeped throughout the again, just like a super magical time and super magical experience to have been there.
Who's your favorite character? Not even from this show, just Star Wars character in general.
I was asked this when
I know that's a bland question.
no,
but
I was asked this at the premiere.
Yeah.
And got to go with Luke.
yeah, I think that's a good one.
Because when we can talk about, we can go way back and like talk about me getting into Star Wars,
Yes.
like
Yeah, let's hear it.
way back in the day. So I like to say, I was a fan before the movie came out because back before the internet, there was something called Starlog magazine.
Oh, sure. Of course.
Which is we're all little nerds. We got all our information about upcoming science fiction movies and TV shows. And in one issue, there was a page at the front that said, "Oh, there's this upcoming movie called Star Wars." And they had two pieces of Ralph McQuarrie, what I later learned was Ralph McQuarrie pre-production art. There's the famous one of like from the inside the Imperial Starfighter shooting out. And then there was another one where a guy in white armor was holding this sword that looks like made out of light.
Yeah.
And I was like, this looks really cool.
Yeah.
But I was already, even at that young age, I had already been burned by movie posters that overpromised, you know, what the movie. The great John Berkey poster from King Kong 75, where he's astride the World Trade Center holding a fighter in his hand.
Such a good poster.
Never happened in the movie.
No, I know.
I felt so burned. So already I was kind of like, well, this looks really cool, but this is never gonna. The movie is never gonna live up.
There's no world where it can.
Yeah. And then a few months, like a month after that, I think I was at the convenience store buying comic books. Oh, there's a comic book that says Star Wars. That's the one. So already, like their multi-pronged marketing scheme, it's working its way into my young brain.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, this looks interesting. So I read it, and I was like, okay, wow, seems pretty cool. And then I remember there was like a full page of text at the end where they talked about the movie and how they had created a whole new company just to do the special effects for this.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, this is sounding more and more impressive. Comes out May 25th. May 25th is my birthday.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, I told my younger brother, I know what we're doing for my birthday this year.
Yeah.
We're going to see this movie, Star Wars. Then the second issue of the comic came out.
Yeah.
And that's where it really got its hooks into my brain.
Sure.
Podcaster Sean Fennessy talks about some movies that alter your brain chemistry.
That's one of them.
That's what started to happen. So then I bought the novelization.
Yeah.
This is where all my allowance was going to go now. There was a 2.
Just to be clear, that's where all my allowance goes today.
Yeah.
So it's fine. I
Same.
get it. Yeah.
So then there's, and then there's a two record vinyl set soundtrack, which I listen to every day leading up to, and I read, another issue, the entire first 6 issues of the comic had not come out by the time May 25th shows up.
Yeah.
The movie does not open in San Antonio where I was growing up.
Oh, no.
Star Wars opened in 32 screens
Oh, no.
when it first opened.
Uh-huh.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm so pissed off.
Yeah.
But I'm ready to go because I know this movie already in my head, backwards and forwards. My family vacations in Houston around the time of my birthday, and we go to the Galleria, big mall in Houston, and there's a two-plex movie theater there, and there's a line going from one end of the mall to the next. The theater was showing Sam Peckinpah's Cross of Iron on one screen and Star Wars.
Both have stood the test of time.
I remember thinking at the time, it's like, a lot of people really want to see Cross of Iron. I had no idea that movie was great because Star Wars was for nerds
course,
like me.
yeah.
It was like a niche thing.
Yeah.
I had no idea. And then, of course, like a few weeks later, it finally opens in San Antonio.
Yeah.
And I watch it, and I got to admit, on my first viewing, it was a little odd because I had it so clearly it was like meeting someone in person that you've only known online.
Totally.
And I knew every cue of that score. I knew what scene it referred to.
Yeah.
And so the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, some stuff it was just like different from
what you thought it was
what
going
I
to
thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
But then fortunately I could see it 2 or 3 or 4 more times over the course of that summer.
Yeah.
And like, oh yeah. And then I just
But you
sort of
wonder,
embraced it.
like, I think that's partially also why Hubba Hubba, those two guys kissing behind that pole. Did you see that?
Yeah.
I rewound it last night because I did not remember that. I was like, oh, look at that.
Also Zero the Hutt, also
Yes.
voiced by Corey Burton, who did General Loathsome. So
Yeah.
he's quite the
He's
range.
Zero's funny. I like Zero.
Yeah.
I like Zero. We need more Star Wars characters like
But
Zero.
again, we're introducing characters like way late in the movie.
Padme shows up very late.
shows up very late. Also, I was like, is that Natalie Portman? Because it really,
She's really good.
Catherine Tabor
Yeah.
did a really good job.
But what I was gonna say was
Yeah.
your brain was imagining what that movie was beforehand.
Yeah.
And I think that this show and a lot of Star Wars runs into the thing. Also, right now we should say it's 11:38. Shout out THX 1138, George Lucas, my guy.
That's hilarious.
But I think that this show and a lot of Star Wars in general, a lot of fans get an idea of what something is in their brain, and then they see the thing and they're like, well, that's not what I thought it was. And I think that that's why a lot of early discussion around this show, a certain section of people were angry about
That
something.
is a great point. Yeah.
Because they're like, he doesn't have I know Star Wars. He doesn't have a Padawan. And you're like, I know Star Wars. I read the books. I saw the comics.
Yeah.
This isn't totally what I pictured, but I assume you weren't angry about it.
No,
that's
not at
the
all.
difference.
Again, it just took a period of
Yeah.
adjustment.
Which same thing for this. Took a period of adjustment, and then
Yeah.
now people love this show.
And also everybody, that's another thing, a lot of people have opinions like what Star Wars is.
Yeah.
And by the time we were making the show, I'm sure George had already had it up to here with people telling him what they thought Star Wars should be.
Yeah.
So he was just kind of like past that, and he wanted to make sure that, this is the Star Wars that he wanted it to be.
Well, let me ask you then.
Okay.
What is it?
What is
Star Wars. What is Star Wars to you?
To me, it is the story of it is finding your destiny. It is the story of someone who starts out in the ass end of the universe, believes in themselves, or is taught to believe in themselves, learns to believe in themselves, and then becomes the person who saves the galaxy at the end. That is like what really spoke to me. I don't know, and I think that's one of the things. Also, it incorporates like the hero's journey, Joseph Campbell stuff, which resonates with cultures around the world because it sort of mimics like the human experience. But
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think it's
What do
middle-aged
you
British guys in goofy rubber masks. That's Star Wars to me.
it is also that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when this movie came out, and this is a bit of a conspiracy theory, I'll say, and I have to stress, this is I'm not sharing any state secrets here, because if you look back at interviews that were done at the time of the movie came out, and there was some reporting in the New York Times and in Slash Film and some other things. So I have a theory about why the movie did not live up to all of our expectations when it came out. Would you like to hear that theory?
I would love
Patrick?
to hear it.
All right.
That's what I'm here for.
So
This is why I brought you here
okay,
today.
thank you. So, like I said, when we were making the series, we didn't know where it was going to air.
Yeah.
So we were just sort of like assuming that it would find a home at some point.
Which is also rare for a television show
Extremely
to
rare.
get that far into it and be like, I don't know what's going to happen. You know?
Again, it was independently funded by
Yeah.
Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
So there was some internal talk I heard from a few people like maybe HBO.
Oh, wow.
Well, I have not found any external reporting
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
corroborates that. I have a feeling that might have just been wishful thinking.
Sure.
Because HBO had done Todd McFarlane's Spawn and
Yeah.
a couple of other
Yeah.
animated things. I don't know if that was ever like a viable possibility. So if not that, Nickelodeon
Mhm.
or Cartoon Network.
Mhm.
There was also a third possibility because there was a broadcast network that had a Sunday night bank of animated shows,
Oh.
Fox,
Oh, wow.
already in place.
Oh.
Fox Kids
Yeah.
had folded a couple of years early, so they didn't have a Saturday morning programming.
Yeah.
20th Century Fox had released the first 6 Star Wars movies.
Sure.
So I was always saying, hey, can we find out? Because we should probably modulate the tone of the show quite a bit
Absolutely.
if it's going to fit in
If
there.
it's coming after The Simpsons.
Yeah, is it going to
yeah.
be between the Simpsons Family Guy and King of the Hill?
That's what a
or
wild
lead-in?
world that would be.
That was, but Fox
Of
looked at the
course.
show and it's like, no thanks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then we're down to Warner Brothers Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon.
Was Disney never an option? Or,
Disney didn't have
but they had Disney Channel.
they did. Yeah, I guess they did, but
Yeah.
that was not.
That's interesting.
That was not a possibility.
yeah.
So then Warner Brothers apparently looks at like a couple of episodes.
Yeah.
Says no thanks.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. That's a problem.
All right. So now we're down to Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
And if Nickelodeon says no,
Yeah.
like everyone else has been saying no,
yeah.
this show doesn't air.
Sure. Totally.
Maybe it becomes a series of direct-to-DVD releases.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That wouldn't recoup probably what was being put into the show.
Yeah.
Fine.
Probably not. I
If
mean,
not-
but also it was a big industry at
Right,
that point.
right. Not a way.
DVDs,
I looked it up, and like the DVD industry started to decline around
Yes.
2006.
Yes.
So this was probably at the peak. So
Yeah.
anyway, so maybe the show's not going to air.
Mhm.
There are different accounts of what happened next. Some people say this came from George. Some people say this came from Warner Brothers. They said, if you can provide us with a feature-length theatrical film
Mm.
that we could release in theaters,
Mhm.
that would be enough of a financial incentive for us to put the show on Cartoon Network.
Hmm.
So then we had the long form project, which was sitting there.
Yeah.
And I think
Huh.
Lucasfilm was kind of backed into a corner.
Yeah.
And like, we have to put this out theatrically.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So this became, the long form project became Clone Wars, the Star Wars, the Clone Wars, the movie.
Wow.
But this was 4 episodes of a TV show.
Yeah.
So it needed to be substantially reworked to, you
Yeah.
know, I'm making my notes as we go along about things that probably should have been changed.
Sure.
But they were making the TV show
Yeah.
at the same time,
Yeah.
which was more than a full-time job. And this, making a movie, is more than a full-time. So I don't think, again, I wasn't up at the ranch anymore at this point, but I think this was probably not as finished
Mhm.
as everyone who is working on it would have liked it to
Mhm.
have been.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not making an excuse, but
No,
that's
totally.
an explanation
It's a
for,
very
like,
interesting
for why this was released.
chain of events. Yeah. And that wasn't unheard of at the time because a lot of those Disney, they would do like Atlantis 2 or, you know.
Yeah, they do a lot of straight
put
Bambi
out-
too. and,
yes,
like,
yes,
a lot of
yes.
straight to
And
video.
some of them would end up being TV shows and some of them would end up being like canceled TV shows that they were like, we've got this. Let's
Yeah.
just put it together and make it into a movie because we're not going to release the TV show. So it's not totally unheard of.
Yeah.
Just on this level, I think is a different,
Yeah.
you know, those were not costing $8 million, I
Right.
assume.
Right, and
Yeah.
so the first season was, again, I think also a little rough because for a lot of reasons, Lucasfilm Animation was brand new, and
Yeah.
there was not like an infrastructure and an organization there to start out with. They had Lucasfilm, as we discussed, had not really done television except for Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, and then this movie had to have been worked on by the same team that was working on trying to crank out the second season of the show.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah. Were you did you continue watching after you left, or were you?
Checked out. I did. Larry David tells the famous story of like when he left Seinfeld and he talked to Aaron Sorkin, and Sorkin said, who had left West Wing, said, "Don't keep watching, because if it's good,
sure,
you'll feel bad that you weren't there, and if it's bad, you'll be mad that."
Yeah.
No, I did keep watching it because I was still friends with everybody who was working on it, and it, overall there were still like some episodes that I thought were like kind of bumpy.
Mm-hmm.
And supervising writer ended up being kind of a revolving door.
Oh, interesting.
Post, like at every season they had like a different Drew Greenberg, who I'd known from I'd worked on the TV show Angel, and while he was working on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so we knew each other.
Yeah.
He was the next supervising writer, and then there were others, and and I don't know if there was a lack of enthusiasm to keep a consistent writing team there, or if when writers got up there, they were like, "Oh, we
got it."
We don't have as much say in the show as we do like on other shows." So,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's. I do want to point out, I do like Zero's design of his apartment, whatever you want to call this.
Yeah,
because it looks like Jabba's palace just on the side of a building. I think
that is
fun.
the hut aesthetic, I guess. But and Zero very clearly Truman Capote.
Mr. Capote, yes.
Or Droopy from the Looney Tunes,
sure.
From the cartoon series. But so Corey Burton, a lot of range, can do the Sean Connery-esque General Loathsome, and also the Truman Capote-esque Zero the Hutt.
When you would have a character that you were working on, would you have any say in the design, or would they would show you and be like, "This is this is your guy." I know they handed you paper sometimes, being like, "This is him," but
it was all collaborative. The design stuff, again, this sort of tells you where the priorities were. But they had like 3 or 4 like full-time production designers on the series, and 2 full-time writers.
Sure.
So that was kind of the character design. I'll tell you something fun. We all, when after we kind of get like, or the scripts were to be recorded, we would do a scratch track, kind of in the office. And that was great because then it was just cosplay. It was, "Hey, you want to be Obi-Wan today?
Yeah,
great.
Yeah.
We're doing episode 10.
Great.
Come on down. You can be Obi-Wan. You can be, you can be Ahsoka," and we would all just like do our like amateur.
That's so fun.
Like scratch track recordings, and then, and this is like kind of a weird tangent too. But at one point we were, pitching like the pilot or the pirate episode where Hondo shows up, and just like off the top of my head, I was like, at some point he has to say, "Oh, it's this business."
Yes.
And then Dave was in the room when he heard that, and then when we did the scratch track, Dave voiced Hondo, and he did that.
Oh, interesting.
Tone of voice.
Yeah.
And then the voice actor who eventually played the character heard Dave's scratch track.
Yeah.
Did the voice. When I go to Galaxy's Edge now, Hondo shows up and he says, "Oh, hello," and I'm like, "Oh." Is he doing that because I did that way back in the chain of how, if I had done like the Robert Newton pirate voice, would now his
be different?
I don't know, and I don't want to.
But that's cool to think about.
I don't want to oversell my influence in the chain of things. But that was when I heard that at Disneyland. I was like, "Oh."
There's a pretty good chance that this happened. Yeah. I mean, when shows are so big like this, you never know what the butterfly effect is. Where you're like, had I not done this, would this not be this way? And Hondo showed up in 3 or 4 shows at this point. Like, he's a pretty big Star Wars character at this point. You're credited. Wait, I wanted to ask you about this.
Okay,
you may not remember this. I don't know.
That's fine.
Star Wars: The Clone Wars lightsaber duels.
Yeah, I have no idea what that is.
Great.
I mean,
I think it's a Wii game.
I'm guessing that some material we wrote somewhere in the first season or for the movie.
Yeah.
Was repurposed, and then God bless them. Thank you for giving me credit.
That's great
on it. If they felt it was deserved.
Yeah, I don't know this game, but let's see. I'm gonna see if Wikipedia has any more info on it. It's not a lightsaber simulator, but when you swing your Wii remote left to right, your character does the same. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know.
Certainly.
Oh, it's mostly based on the movie, it looks like.
Okay. Well, then.
So I imagine
that
they
would,
just
like sort of makes sense.
Yeah. They gave you guys credit for that. Well, that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, and let me continue. Just like Henry Gilroy and Steve Melching, who wrote this part, fantastic writers. Steve, he was technically like a freelancer, but he went on and wrote a lot of episodes of this, and went on. Henry and Steve both went on to work on Rebels, and I kind of went back to the live action world after my time in the Clone Wars. But Steve, I always wanted to. I was like, can we hire just one more writer?
Yeah.
Can we hire Steve, please, to be here full time? He ended up coming up to the ranch quite a bit, and he was like the sort of like the fifth Beatle of the writing team, even though he wasn't there full time. And he ended up. But again, they both. I was so glad to have them there, and they, everybody contributed. And again, everybody was really, from the writing staff to the design team to the artists. Everybody was such a diehard Star Wars fan, and we all were so grateful to be there, and I was so grateful to be there, and it was just, it was everybody just was so happy to be able to do a Star Wars project, and here Rada gets reunited. I always kind of want, it feels like, again, just a Monday morning quarterback, that the stakes, one of the problems is the stakes got kind of low as it, traditionally Star Wars movies would build up to a huge, confrontation. And the fact, the stakes of reuniting Rada with Jabba was, we need the trade routes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's kind of a bit of an abstract. It's not like, we're going to get blown up by the Death Star but
it does sort of feel like the prequel stuff where it's it's all back to trade routes, and we're coming back to this
and taxation and issues like that. So so again, it's very easy to Monday morning quarterback it, and for reasons I've discussed, I think they just didn't have time to rework. Again, if and then I could go back in time and say, here's how you could make the movie work a little bit better narratively. They would. That's great, Scott. We don't have the time or the money.
Do you have an idea that would make it work a little bit?
Here we come.
Here we go. Hang on.
We're at the end credits here. Hey, that's me.
There you go. Look at that.
Again, for all the stuff I talk about, I'm so grateful to have this credit and to have had this experience.
And I'm happy you got the chance to talk about it today.
Me too.
At length.
So before I forget, I teased an Ashley Eckstein story earlier. So Ashley, married to famous baseball player David Eckstein.
Yes.
Who I was not familiar with. I'd known the name. So one day we were at the ranch and we get an email. Hey, Ashley's husband, David, there she is on the screen, her credit.
Hey, that's her.
Hey, that's her. David Eckstein is going to visit the ranch, and we're going to give him the full tour of all the departments. He's graciously volunteered, if you have any baseball memorabilia you want to bring in, he will be more than happy to sign it.
Sure.
Great. So the day comes, Catherine checks in with everybody. Hey, you guys got your baseball memorabilia? No. We're a bunch of sci-fi nerds, Catherine. We collect comic books and action figures. We don't collect baseball trading cards or anything. So Catherine, and this tells you what a nice person Catherine was. She's kind of been, I think, a little unfairly erased from Star Wars history because she found Dave Filoni. She found me and Henry, and so she really deserves a lot of credit for building the ground floor where this whole franchise came from. But anyway, so Catherine gets word nobody has any baseball memorabilia. So she's so nice, and she didn't want Dave to feel unappreciated. So she dispatches a PA to the nearest sporting goods store, which I don't know if that was in San Rafael or if they had to drive down to Oakland or San Francisco. And came back with a duffel bag full of baseballs, which were subsequently distributed to every member of the production team.
Great.
And then, sure enough, one point during the day, Ashley shows up with David Eckstein. If this had been any business or a sports convention, he would be swarmed. But, we were like, oh, hi, you seem nice. And so he's introduced to me and Henry, and then Catherine is there and says, hey, looks like you got a baseball there on your desk. And, oh, sure enough, Mr. Eckstein, if you would be so kind to please. And he, totally nice guy. And he's signed it. And he surely at some point had to realize,
Everyone has a
Everybody has
baseball.
a baseball. They're all the same brand. They're
Yeah.
all in pristine condition.
That's so funny.
But I still, some in my closet, I still have
Yeah.
I have some memorabilia from the Clone Wars, but I have one of them is a signed David Eckstein baseball.
That's so funny.
Courtesy of Ashley Eckstein.
I love
and her
that.
husband,
There's Jane
David.
Bay showing up.
Jane Bay, the
Long
executives-
time.
long time.
Yeah. I should also shout out story artist Justin Ridge, who directed a bunch. Also did the cover for the George Lucas Talk Show documentary Blu-ray.
Fantastic.
He painted a cover for us. It's amazing.
Yeah.
How do you think? And this is really what I was building to this whole time.
Great. Okay. It's
How
leading to
do
this.
you think your work on Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the movie specifically, was impacted by your work as an additional set production assistant on Boogie Nights? Uncredited.
Uncredited. Yeah. That was a fantastic thing.
Yeah.
That's a whole. I don't know how long the credits run.
We
but
can keep
have story-
going. We can
Oh,
go
okay.
past the credits. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, that was an amazing. I was here at graduate school
Yeah.
at USC, and it was the summer between my 2 years there. And my roommate, Michael Phillips, shout out to Mike, was working as a PA on this movie called Boogie Nights.
Mhm.
And he was like, "It's about the porn industry." And I probably shouldn't say this, but one night after he was asleep, the script was on our kitchen table.
Yeah.
I said, "I'll read the first couple of pages."
Yeah.
And I couldn't stop.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
One of the best movies of all time.
The script was phenomenal. I
Yeah.
was just, holy crap. And I wasn't probably supposed to be reading it. But I was like, yeah. And then at one day he said, "Hey, we need an additional PA on the set today. I am in.
Yeah.
Because this is great." And so the scene I worked on is not in the movie. It's in the deleted scenes. There's
Okay.
a scene where Mark Wahlberg crashes the Corvette.
Yes.
In the finished cut of the movie, it just shows up and it's been crashed.
Yeah,
But so I was this additional set PA assigned with stopping traffic
Yeah.
when this happened. So the way this was
Where did they shoot? Do
this
you
was
remember?
like up in the valley.
Okay.
Around Woodland Hills, I think.
Okay.
But this is Paul Thomas Anderson talks about this in one of the commentaries. So the plan, they had two Corvettes.
Mhm.
The plan was Mark Wahlberg was going to drive one Corvette and towards this telephone pole and then veer or stop.
Sure.
Then they were going to put the stuntman in the second Corvette and he was going to crash it.
Okay.
So they do like a couple of takes of Mark veering away from the telephone pole. And then Paul Thomas Anderson goes up and whispers something to him. All right. So, all right, we're going to do one more. And then they roll. And Mark drives a Corvette straight into the telephone pole.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, he's crashed it.
Yeah.
And then the producer's like, "We would like to talk to Paul and Mark, please, over here by the camera, Camera Village. Thank you." And so I assume like Paul leaned into Mark and was like, "What are you, pussy? Crash the car."
Of course.
He's like, "Yeah, okay, we're gonna." It would have been amazing because they had a camera mounted in the back of the car.
Yeah.
So you could have seen him turn his head. Meanwhile, in the background, this telephone pole is coming closer and closer. That camera jammed.
Oh.
So they didn't get that particular shot. There was other. They had more cameras going,
yeah.
so you got it. But the hero shot.
It's kind of crazy to cut that scene.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
it was a long. I don't know.
No,
what
I know,
the-
but just like going through the trouble of getting in trouble.
Yeah.
For like having him do that. And then,
yeah.
wow.
So anyway, that's my Boogie Nights story. It was
That's great.
It was again like
Yeah.
one of my favorite credits, even though I was only there for one day.
No, it's good.
I'm
I
like
love it.
Forrest Gumping my way through Star Wars and Boogie Nights.
Yeah. And then, I mean, the show I emailed you about when I first emailed you, a show that literally came up on the episode that came out this
Right.
week, My Own Worst Enemy, a show that
Yeah.
I really liked
Awesome.
and had the DVD of.
That was my next job after I got back from the Clone Wars.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I mean,
Say Christian, for those who don't remember, My Own Worst Enemy.
what people aren't going to remember my Own Worst Enemy, which went for 13 episodes in 2009.
It's a
or 8.
Christian Slater show.
Yeah.
He's a dad,
Mhm.
but then at night, his brain like changes and he turns into a assassin. I think that's the best.
The secret agent organization
Yes.
has put a chip in his brain.
Yes.
And when he goes out on business trips, they can flip it.
Yes.
And then another personality emerges who's this secret agent assassin. And in the pilot episode, the chip starts malfunctioning.
Yes.
And so the secret agent pops up in his home life sometimes, and sometimes he's out on a mission, and he'll all of a sudden be suburban
And
dad.
he's his own worst enemy, folks. That's
Exactly.
part of it.
It was Severance before Severance.
Yeah.
So-
I think it's a good show. And James Cromwell,
Yeah.
right, plays his dad, I think, on it.
No, he was the
Head of the organization.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, good show. I just want to.
Yeah.
I want to mention my own worst enemy on as many episodes of this show as I possibly can.
Happy to facilitate that.
Happy to help. Thank you. Any lasting last thoughts you have?
Again,
bring
just
up?
again, I'm just playing Monday morning quarterback with some of my criticisms
Yeah.
and explanations of why I think the movie didn't live up maybe to its potential in some ways.
Yeah.
But again, everybody who worked on this was so smart and so talented and really devoted to making like the best Star Wars movie we could make. And I'm so grateful for the experience of having done it and having to work with these people and to meet George, because Star Wars has probably affected the direction of my life more than any other piece of art I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
And so to not just meet him, but to get to work for him and to get to spend some time there up at the ranch, absolutely a dream come true.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me.
Truly so excited when you said yes, and I'm glad it all worked out.
Likewise.
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Clone Wars movie. Ahsoka's here. Guess what? They're all fighting, and they got Stinky the Hutt, who's now a major player in the Star Wars universe.
So is Ahsoka. This was
So is
Ahsoka's
Ahsoka.
first appearance.
Stinky's bigger.
If Ahsoka were the Fantastic Four, this would be Fantastic Four #1.
That's true.
But it's not.
It's not,
She's
though.
not.
It's not.
Did you like Ahsoka immediately when you saw her in the show?
I didn't watch this show live when it was happening.
Well, it was never aired live. It was pre-taped.
I did not watch this show while it was airing. I
Me
watched
either.
it in college, I think.
Well, you must have been so popular.
Yeah, it was. I think it was the around end of college I watched
Hey,
it.
what were your college posters your freshman year?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think I had it was a lot of the classic ones.
Go ahead.
It was the Pulp Fictions, the Lebowskis, it was the ones that everyone had at that point. I think I had an Up in the Air one.
Kevin
You know what I
Bacon?
had? I had a no, Clooney.
Oh, Anna Kendrick? in him?
Yeah.
You're a weird kid.
Yep. I had a 2005 King Kong, which I
Wow.
stand by.
Oh, I don't like that movie.
Well, that's on you.
Okay. You can. Peter Jackson's listening. Look, I like all your other movies. I just don't like King Kong.
You like all of his other movies?
Well, I love Dead Alive. I love.
You like that?
Oi, boys, we're going to war, and I'm going to re-record your voice on this 1913 footage. Hello, here we go.
I didn't-
Cha-chong, cha-chong.
Are you doing Lord of the Rings right now?
No, I'm doing. What is it? There will be no survivors.
They were butt men.
They were butt men.
They were butt men. The one I would say, the Peter Jackson King Kong has some great parts. It's just I don't love it.
Yeah.
I love the ride and the tram and
Yeah,
Universal
yeah,
Studios. My least favorite. Peter
all right,
Jackson.
all right, everyone, put on your 3D glasses now. We're
love
going
it.
to Skull Island.
I love his stuff. My favorite is Frighteners.
Yeah.
My least favorite is Meet the Feebles.
My
by far.
favorite is that episodes of the Muppets Mayhem.
He was great.
He's
He was
really good
great.
in it.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah. Did I like Ahsoka at the beginning? Yeah, I think all the hate for her had passed by the time I watched
Oh,
it.
okay.
And
Yeah, people were mad at her.
yeah, who cares? Shut up.
Yeah, internet. Wait, were you around then?
No, I mean not
Then
really.
Then how do we know people didn't like her?
Well, but I know that the internet was mad at her. You could still go read those
Sure,
forums, and they're not nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, who cares?
Well, I like Ahsoka now,
Me too.
and I liked her then. So what do you think of that? And I like when they flash back in the Ahsoka show when she's a little kid.
And yeah, she's great. The girl who plays her in the flashbacks is really great.
Oh, she's great.
Ariana Greenblatt. Yeah.
And she calls Anakin Skids.
Skids?
Isn't that? I don't know.
Does she?
She calls him something, doesn't
Sky
she?
Guy?
No, she's got a. Oh, what does he call her? Nips.
Snips.
Nips.
Not Nips. Doesn't call her Nips.
That would be uncomfortable. Oh yeah, she calls him Sky Guy,
And he calls her Snips.
and then they call each other
Sky Snips.
Sky Snips. Anyway, Clone Wars is
Snips.
great. I should watch it from the very beginning and see if I enjoy the thing. I watched the Darth Maul stretch. I love those.
Yeah.
I think Clone Wars, the last season they did, once Disney got it,
Yeah.
is my favorite Clone
It's
Wars.
really good.
It's
Well, it
so
also
good.
looks really good.
It looks great, but it's also more
Straightforward.
pointed. Like
Yeah,
they know
yeah,
where
yeah.
they're going with
Yeah.
it, and it's great. I love it. I really do love it.
I would say if you are going to do a full rewatch.
I'm not.
No, I know, but
Very
this
busy.
is more for everyone listening.
Okay.
I would say watch it in chronological order because this show famously did
Oh.
not come out in chronological
Okay.
order because, and we talk about, if you listen to this episode, you've already heard this, but George would have an idea in season 2 he's like, I got an idea. We did that episode in season 1. This is going to be a prequel to that. And it's just
Oh,
like,
boy.
so like
Yeah.
characters are dead and then they show up again
Right,
in
right.
season 2. And it's like very confusing and jarring. So I would say find that
So
list.
find the list online
Yeah.
of how you watch in chronological order.
But yeah,
And get back to us and see if that worked out for you. Hey, this was a great episode, Patrick. You don't need me.
you're right. And
Oh.
this is how we're announcing.
Goodbye. I'm going back to my home planet.
No, this is a very fun episode. I was so psyched he wanted to do it. We didn't really talk about he followed our Instagram account because he was a fan of George Lucas Talk Show.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
And
He has
then-
not followed me, but I mean.
And
that's
then
fine.
I reached out and was like, "Hey man, want to do that?" Like it
Was he
very-
like, oh, I didn't know you could see that I was looking at you?
Yeah. Very fun episode. Go check out our Patreon, patreon.com/commentary. You can get a whole bunch of special
So
stuff
much
on there.
fun stuff. You can ask questions. You can ask us to ask questions.
Yeah.
When we announce ahead of time who's going to be on. Also, we put up some podcasts that are only available on that page.
That's true.
And
Maybe
Patrick
we'll
puts up
do a short one
feet
today.
pics.
I do put up feet pics.
Not his feet.
Yeah,
Fred Flintstone.
I do put up feet pics, Brian.
Uh-huh. Of your feet?
I'll never tell.
Oh, geez, gross. Okay, so go to our Patreon and get the lowest tier. We don't care. If you get the highest tier, Patrick will come to your house and live with you.
You can see the feet in real life.
Oh, God. Yeah. That's
Brian, we
gross.
got an exciting episode next week too.
Who is it?
You know.
Come on, tell me.
You know.
Come on, tell me.
It's Cameron Crowe.
Finally.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening to Hey That's Me, a commentary podcast. This has been a That Was Just So Funny production. Your hosts have been Brian Lynch and Patrick Hotner. Music was by Alex Peabody, and our art was by Abigail Noy. You can find out more about the show by going to HeyThat'sMePod.com and checking out our Patreon at patreon.com/commentary. If you've enjoyed the show, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Please tell your friends about this show.